the fuck were you thinking about here? Chase, don't do that.
It's just been revoked.
All right, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We're here on episode 16 now to discuss the 1964 film Fistful of Dollars, or A Fistful of Dollars, depending on which one you want to go with. They're both out there. So you're joined by myself, G-Baby, and as always, the usual suspect, Steve. How are you, friend?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Hanging in there, as they like to
yeah.
say. No, yeah, kind of same old. Just
my grandma
ready
used to
for
say,
fall.
we're in pretty good shape for the shape we're in.
I feel like that's like a verse or a chorus in a song. I got like some deja vu. Maybe not, but yeah, I'm really getting psyched about fall because to me, some people are like,
it's not even close.
It is though, because like the way my mind works is like May, June, and July. That's summertime, and then just like the change, like seeing it and being on the calendar in August makes me think of autumn. Makes me think of the leaves changing, and Halloween's right around the corner. So I know some people, they say spooky season starts like July, the first week of July or something.
Nobody says that. I wish it was fall. It's going to be triple digits here every day, all day, forever.
I saw that for like the next 10 days, and then like the high water mark is like a 103 backed up to like a 105. Yeah,
the worst part is when you see the lows start creeping up higher and higher. It's not so bad when the low is like 60, because things can cool down at night, but when the low creeps up to like 70s or like God forbid you get a low of 80, it's like there's just no fucking relief ever. But
yeah, I can't.
Other than that, things are great.
Right on. Yeah, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. I think like the next 10 days here are like partly cloudy and a high of 79.
Ugh, gorgeous.
For like 10 days. Dude, it fucking pissed like a cow, or it pissed rain like a cow pissing on a flat rock this morning. I swear to God. We got like 3.5 inches in like 15 minutes. Thunder, crackling. It was like black at 8 a.m.
Damn.
So I love that. Like the variation here in the Midwest that you have, like coming from someone that's in California, it's like, it really is like perfect weather. If that's your thing, clear skies, blue skies, like 289 days out of the year.
You should be working for the tourism board or something, because you've already got half a dozen people to move out there.
Seriously, dude. Yeah, that's kind of just like the way the chips fell, and like the specific familial setup and all those things. But yeah, from an outsider's, it's like, yeah, we're really fucking selling Northeast Indiana like a motherfucker.
That's so funny. It must have been like an Onion article or something where it was like, U-Haul has announced its salesperson of the year is California Governor Gavin Newsom because of all the people that are getting the fuck out of this state and they can't keep their trucks here.
Yeah. Dude, it was murder trying to like secure something to move, like any moving service. I'm sure, I don't know what the rates are, but they have to be like 2x what they were like pre-COVID.
I mean, fuck, diesel's like almost $7 a gallon out here. So
dude, yeah, diesel's insane right now. Yeah, I can't believe how fucking high it is. I think out here it's like 580 something, maybe like 610 it just bumped up to, but yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish. All right, so let's see. I don't really have anything for new sayings that I wanted to bring up, but there is one though. I'm curious.
We could call it the gym colloquial corner or something cutesy like that.
I like that. Dude, funny synchronicity here. Colloquial, I was in a fucking spelling bee in like third or fourth grade, and colloquial's the one that fucking nipped me. I
Damn.
got
I was in a spelling
bronze.
bee in like second or third grade, and I've always been a really good speller. Well, at least when I was a kid, but I choked so hard under the pressure. There's like those preliminary rounds where it's like cat or some, super easy shit to just weed out the like special needs kids. I think I went out like first or second round just on some super easy word. Like the
walrus.
pressure just got me. It was bad.
Damn. Yeah, I got pretty deep, dude. There were some words I had never fucking heard before in like fourth grade, like namely colloquial. I was like, ugh, like I almost had a stroke just hearing them say
Yeah.
that word. I was like, I'm seeing like C's, K's, Q's, U's, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even remember what my spelling guess was, but it was not even close. But yeah. So one I picked up on recently is like and it's almost like the thing that I think I hate about it the most is how it's come out of nowhere, and I'm noticing it more and more, like culturally, and then it's like a perversion of American English, and it's like got this like cutesy kind of like content creators. It's like it's I feel like it's been pushed from that arena, but it's like, okay, so have you ever heard when you're like, I don't even know what that is. Like if you would say that, I don't even know what that is. I've been hearing more and more people say, what even is that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? How did that get slipped in as acceptable to say that?
Well, that phrase in particular makes me think there's like this funny video. I might have even sent it to you a while back where this guy, I think he had rented out his house for like an Airbnb, and they were throwing this huge party, and he shows up and he's just raging at the people who rented it. And there's this person who looks at the guy and is like, "Daddy, chill." And he looks at them and is like, "What the hell even is that?"
Because it calls him Daddy. Daddy,
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So,
have you heard that other places?
Look at that video, it's pretty funny.
Have you picked up on that that's like something people say now?
Not really, but
I've seen it more and more.
I don't know. I don't really spend a whole lot of time out in. I don't know. I'm an old man, dude.
The internet.
I don't spend a lot of time around the kids.
Yeah, I think I try to keep my pulse on it because I like that kind of shit, but more so the older I get, the more old man, like get off my lawn I am about stuff. But I'm trying to stay up on this shit for like when my kids, because my daughter's almost 6 already, and then I have a son on the way. Fuck, by the time they're teenage, like
your son's already born.
Or yeah, he. I don't even know what I said. I'm stream of consciousness right now. He's super young, is what I'm saying. Like he's 7 months old. But by the time they're both teenagers, if I don't stay up on the shit, by the time they're teenagers, I'll have missed like 7 iterations of like cultural like memery and slang and lingo.
Sure.
So I'm trying to attack it from like sometimes it's fun, but I'm trying to attack it from like. So I can understand.
You are going to be the most cornball dad to teenage kids. Like you're gonna drop them off at the movies and be like, "Hope it's lit, fam."
Hope
like,
it's
Dad,
litty.
It's
AF.
It's 2030.
I mean, in my heart of hearts, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't like striving, at least part of me, like to want to be cool still when that time comes. But yeah, more so it's like I want to know, like, because who knows what kids are going to be into in 15 years, you know? Like the speed of shit. Like I've already caught myself like left in the dust with my niece and nephew who are like right there, like 14, and the other one just got her like license, and they're into like K-pop and like all this weird shit that I'm just like, we are lost. Like I have no concept of what's going on.
Well, hopefully things do seem to go in cycles where old becomes new again. So hopefully it'll circle back at some point, so you're not just getting further and further and further disconnected, you know?
Right. What I think a secret hope of mine too is, you know how like the 80s has like been a big fucking nostalgia hard on for like the last 15 years, I feel like it's
Sure.
been.
Hmm.
I'm thinking that because my prime time was like the 90s, so
Yeah.
maybe
Same
in
here.
10 or 15 years they'll start fucking like rediscovering like My Brother and Me and shit, and we can watch the Goo Show. Like,
Goo.
what?
Or some
That's
kid is like, "Hey, have you ever seen the Mighty Ducks?" Like, I've seen all of them a million times. What do you want to know?
yeah, and then start like vicariously reliving childhood through them, watching like
Yeah.
heavyweights and shit.
Get on the scale. Get off the scale. Speaking of get off my lawn, and I mean personally, I hate kids. So
Yeah,
the less interactions I can have with them at any age, the better.
yeah,
Up until because sometimes I golf with they pair you up with random strangers, and I've played with some kids who are 17, 18, 19, and there are some good kids out there that are young. So I can't say all of them. But speaking of get off my lawn, we had these neighbor kids across the street that were just so obnoxious 24/7. I hated these fucking kids. And did I tell you the story already? The one where I got to spray the kid in the face with a hose?
no, definitely not.
So their dad was a huge piece of shit too, which makes sense that, a shitty parent raises a
Yeah,
brood of shitty kids.
yeah,
So there's like this tree in our front yard that sometimes their little kickballs would get stuck in or whatever. And so there was one that they couldn't reach or knock out with like a broom handle or whatever. So they came over and disturbed me in my castle. And the only thing I could think of was to like get the hose and put like the super tight nozzle on it to just like
yeah.
blast it out of the tree.
The fucking proton pack
And
stream.
the dad is being like a total douche. The kids are being so annoying. And so like I'm spraying the ball, and I don't know why, like what possessed me to do this or how I was able to get away with it. But I went from just like spraying up into the tree, trying to get the ball out of the air, to just leveling the hose right in the kid's face and just blasting him with water. And then just quickly went right back up to spraying it out of the tree. Like, oh, whoopsie doodle. Watch yourself.
I bet.
It's like in Billy Madison where he's just like spraying the kid right in the face.
Yeah.
He's crying. Like, but yeah, it was just a quick little spray in the tree, boom, right in the face, right back up into the tree. It was so satisfying.
How old are we talking here, kids?
I don't know. It could have been 2 to 12. It
No,
was
the
probably
one
like
you
9.
the one you sprayed
Little
in the
shithead.
face.
Yeah, he was probably like 9.
And the
Old
dad
enough.
didn't do shit.
No, I mean, the dad is so checked out. He's just,
Yeah. He
you
was
know,
either didn't give a fuck or was like thought it was funny.
oh God, I hated that family. Anyway, so glad they moved.
Right on. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't hear that one yet. That's so fucking funny. It's like you were daydreaming and then it bled into reality and you just did
Yeah.
it. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess
So yeah,
we should
Fistful of Dollars.
get into this thing. Yeah. Swerve. So 1964, old ass movie. I gotta tell you, I kind of struggled with watching this one.
Really?
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I liked it. I mean, I wouldn't put it up there as one of those movies where, like a Goodfellas, if somebody says they haven't seen it, it's like, oh, you need to stop whatever you're doing and watch it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a classic. But I really enjoyed it. Probably mostly for like nostalgia. My grandpa used to watch a lot of Westerns, and I never really got into them because he would always just turn them on and instantly fall asleep, like in his chair.
Right.
So, I would like gently try to take the remote from his stomach. So I never really like watched them with him, but they were just kind of always on.
Yeah.
But over the last few years, I have watched some every now and then, and yeah, I mean, it just reminds me of my old grandpa.
What was his name?
It's good
Llewellyn?
stuff. Lowell, close.
Lowell. Damn it.
Lowell, yeah.
Anything where I see like L's or there's that double L, I go beeline to Llewellyn from fucking Old Country. I don't know why. That's cool. Yeah, my grandpa liked a lot of that shit too, and like but I was never really exposed to it. I was like never made to or put in a situation where I had to sit and endure it. But so it came like later that I just like I think I caught this was one of the first ones probably. It was either A Fistful of Dollars this or I think it's High Plains Drifter. Um,
Okay.
and if that's the one, they're both Clint Eastwood movies, and honestly, they're almost the same movie. Almost.
I could see that.
Very little dialogue. Kind of stranger that rolls into a fucking dusty
Yeah.
ass fucking wannabe ghost town, or it's about to be ghost town, and like
It's like, I
gets
don't want any trouble, guys. And they're like,
yeah
we're going to fuck with you. And he's like, now you all have to die.
yeah seriously. But
And
I
for
think
that type of movie, this one really did. It definitely checked all those boxes. I mean, what's the difference between a soundtrack and a score?
honestly I don't know. I think when I
Whatever,
think of
whatever
score,
it
I
is.
think of like the orchestral or like a background to a movie that's like not a top you're not gonna hear on the radio. Whereas a soundtrack is like shit that they compile for a movie to sell it, but they also might sprinkle a couple of those songs into the movie. But there's always I feel like a backing score, even if you have a soundtrack, like with
I
songs that you
I
sprinkle in too.
I just thought, like, kind of thinking about it, like maybe the soundtrack is by the songs that are in the movie, like Top Gun or whatever,
Right.
and then the score is like the non-song maybe music that's kind of in the background of just different scenes, like the flying scenes or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I
I
base that upon
I think
nothing,
that's
but
close enough.
whatever you want to call it, I really liked it in this movie a lot. It's just like that classic old Western
Yeah.
soundtrack score, whatever.
Yeah, the dude who did that score, I think his name's Ennio Morricone. He's like super renowned for especially like these spaghetti westerns. And he's like a highly praised and respected composer, I guess. But yeah, like this one is dope. It's got like it's got a little bit of a different flavor because it is a spaghetti western. It's got like an international kind of western, old western thing going on.
I'm such a dumb son of a bitch. Up until I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where they sort of explain like the origin of what a spaghetti western is,
Right.
I had no idea what it was. I'd always heard that expression, and like the thought never crossed my mind of what does that mean. I just
Right.
always assumed it meant like a corny, kind of like goofy western movie. Had
Mm-hmm.
no inclination as to why they called it, nor any desire to look into it for 10 seconds and realize why they call it that. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah. I was kind of the same thing. Like I didn't put it together. Like the first thing that you should think of when you hear it is like, oh, Italians, making
Mm-hmm.
westerns with the whole spaghetti. But yeah, I think up until I don't know, however long, a few years, a decade ago, I just thought of it as like they just put spaghetti in front of western, like completely arbitrarily. Like maybe there's some anecdote about the time period when these were popular. But yeah, I didn't do I was pretty much the same way until I like really dug into it. It wasn't that movie that did it, but like I like looked into it and it's like, oh, and there's all these other facets too of like, people being under contract by studios in the States. So to get around that, and the loophole was to go film something in while you have a break in between movies or your shows. You can go over to Italy or somewhere in Europe and film something, and then come back and hit money both ways. But
That's
yeah,
what Brittany Griner was doing, going over to play basketball in Russia, but she brought weed with her, and now
yeah,
she's locked up abroad.
what are you thinking? Like weed and Russia are like the two things that are like that's like
And they are not very friendly towards the gay community either, so she's probably having a real hard time.
yeah, that's like oil and water. Like
Luckily, I think she's like 6'8", so I doubt anybody's really fucking with her in women's prison over there.
yeah, dude, can you imagine like a roundhouse leg kick coming at you like with that leg span?
Yeah.
a damn horizontal guillotine. So yeah, so this is a spaghetti western, and I guess like a lot of people, this is some of the background that I was able to look at. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone, Ennio Morricone, Clint Eastwood. That's the first, and it's actually not one of the first spaghetti westerns. And I think that's a lot with like niche things and like these like super specific subgenres. There's always one movie that people can like typically point to and look at and be like, that's the beginning of cyberpunk, or that's the beginning of this, or this is the beginning of spaghetti western, when it's actually there's a lot of pioneers usually that pave the way that are like dog shit, and then it takes one that like gets that formula, gets that secret sauce right.
It's like the tipping point. Yeah,
right.
when it finally becomes more popular.
One. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, also from the chapter of the book, I'm really, really dumb about this movie. I was watching it, and like I'd always heard the term spaghetti western. I didn't realize this was one of those until later. And so I'm watching the movie, and obviously pretty early on, you can see that voices are dubbed over.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Are these guys speaking Spanish? Like, because I thought maybe they just used like authentic Mexican actors or whatever. I'm like, wait, so why the fuck? They recorded it in Spanish and then dubbed it over in English, but he's speaking English. And then, as I started to think about it, I was like, oh no, that it's not Spanish. And then I was like, are these guys Italian? What the fuck? And so, I just had like a mental breakdown watching it and sort of put the pieces together, like, oh, this has got to be one of those foreign made.
Yeah.
Italian.
And it's funny. I always wondered that too. Like how is the sound so off? Like, I get it if like you're employing people that speak like a different language, and you just got them for the film, and there's not enough time, or they don't, for whatever reason, they can't even recite the lines in English, like reading a cue card behind or whatever, that it would make sense that their mouths don't match the dubbing. But then why is it all fucked up when like it's like people like Clint Eastwood, he's clearly can speak English, and his shit doesn't match up. And I guess in this movie specifically, it's because they had a low budget, and like they had sound issues throughout the production, so they ended up dubbing everything, including English.
Yeah, that was
very end.
That was like the most interesting little piece of trivia I read, was all of the footage was filmed silently.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, because they were having so many issues, they were like, okay, just fuck it, we'll just do it all in post, and
we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. But then like when you do that, it's like the way someone's mouthing someone, it might be quicker than like how it's actually verbalized, so you can't get it to sync up. Like, I imagine trying to sync up something just to like mouth movements, like audio. That sounds like such a laborious, like fucking like bang your head against the wall task, like to have to do that for an hour, and they probably cut these down, so it was probably even more, like 3 hours worth of shit, and then they edit it. I don't know, but yeah, that seems like such a weird way of doing it. But yeah, I guess
it doesn't look like a lot of effort went into trying to make the mouth match the words, but
yeah, I've seen a lot of people knock this too. Like, it's like what carries it through is like the story and some of the individual performances. But yeah, like I mean, even that part where they bust out that like minigun thing, it's like there's no bullet holes, there's no squibs, there's no blood. Some of those guys, they're just like they flail their arms and then they fall over arbitrarily, and you can't like trace them like a modern good movie. Like, you see like there's a squib, and like you can tell like, oh, he's been hit, and then he goes down. Yeah, I thought that scene in
none of the horses are getting lit up by this machine gun too.
Yeah, they're just bucking them off and running, and there's like a river of bullets just going.
Yeah, the blood thing was certainly noticeable, or lack of. But
did you notice too, like towards the end, like how red that fucking blood was?
Oh,
or like that the shade, It's almost like it
Yeah.
was like mixed with like ketchup mixed with like mustard or something. Like it was almost orangey kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so bright.
I don't know
And the
what that is
weird.
because that's in a lot. There's another like funky film subgenre called. Have you ever heard the term giallo?
No.
If you see it like on paper, it's spelled Giallo. It's a specific like spaghetti western. It's a specific like subgenre of Italian horror movie where like the killer usually it's from his POV when he kills someone and it's like a slasher kind of movie and you see like it's like a black glove and like a knife and then
Hmm.
all the blood is like that same shade. Like I think the biggest one, maybe a counterpart to Fistful of Dollars, is like Suspiria. Like a lot of people think giallo, Italian horror, slasher horror. They think Suspiria, and that it has that same funky ass like red orange crayon, like melted crayon wax is what it looks like. It always
Yeah,
reminds
that's
me
weird.
of. But yeah, uh, so yeah, like some of the production values of this movie are pretty piss poor. Um, but yeah, obviously, I think the story is what carries this
Yeah,
one.
it at no point did it really pull me out of it.
Yeah,
Maybe I just kind of knew what I was getting, but it wasn't like, oh, come on, what are we doing here?
yeah,
So this one is part of a trilogy. Was that right?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's called. I've always known it to be called the Man with No Name trilogy, but I think there's two or three other things that it's called, and we can look at that and some of the trivia. See if I can isolate it right here. But yeah, so this is followed up by For a Few Dollars More
Okay.
with Clint Eastwood's in all three. And then I think For a Few Dollars More, the second one is probably my favorite because
Okay.
there's this dude named Lee Van Cleef is in it. He's a pretty famous American Western actor, and he's a pretty bad motherfucker in it. He's like a big gun guy, and he's got a horse and like its saddle, it's like the special saddle that he has on it. There's a scene where he fucking like he's gonna bust out like one of his dope guns, and he pulls this like slip on the horse bridle or the horse saddle
Saddlebag
shit,
or something.
and it fucking folds down like a pair of chef knives, and it's all these
Oh, nice.
dope ass guns. And he takes one. It's like a 45 revolver, and he has like a two-piece like modular thing where he like puts a thing onto like the butt of the gun and it becomes like those long what do you call those,
Oh,
like a rifle uh
yeah. It's got like a
grip.
buttstock that you can.
Yeah, exactly. And then he puts something on the front that elongates the barrel, and then there's like an aperture that comes up that you can like sight through.
Oh, so he like turns. Yeah, he turns it a handgun into a rifle. I think they would call
Yeah,
that a carbine. I don't know.
there's a scene he's like showing off basically. He fucking slips that thing, it fucking rolls up, and this guy's running away from him, and he's like, cool as a cucumber, sets this thing up all dope, and he fucking waits till he's like super far away, and he's just
Yeah,
like, fucking drops him like a set. It's super cool.
nice.
But yeah, that one's probably my favorite. But then I think the most well known, or like the consensus is most people would say that they like the good, bad, and the ugly the most. And you
And
probably heard
so
that's in
is
like
it
the
like a
cultural zeitgeist.
is it is it a clear like story continuation, or is it kind of just like different chapters that are sort of unrelated to each other?
Yeah, it's the
Like
latter.
they're their own like standalone.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean this film, the first one, Fistful of Dollars, it doesn't even really. You don't get any backstory on Clint Eastwood. You don't
Right.
even know his name unless if you have like subtitles on. I think that Undertaker dude,
Hmm.
Piro, calls him Joe one or two times.
Yeah. Are you a
Um,
subtitle guy? I go subtitles almost all the time.
yeah, I've noticed that too. Like that's more accepted, or like that's like almost like a go-to now for most people. Like it's become more in vogue or popular to do that. But yeah, I do, and I think it
I
started
just
with
miss a lot of stuff.
yeah. I did too. I mean, sometimes I would throw it on just for like because I'm a real stickler for like phrasing and shit, as you know,
Yeah.
we've got into. So like I think it started for me like way back with Big Lebowski. Like, I was trying to like
Mm.
nail all the lines and like see, and so it's
It
it's
really
been
comes in
that,
handy.
yeah,
I was
it
just gonna say it
is.
really comes in handy. Like we've been watching the new season of Peaky Blinders,
Oh
and
shit,
like with
yeah,
any kind of like foreign dialect or accent, it's super helpful. Otherwise, I'd be like, "What the fuck did he just say?" Like,
yeah.
you know, let alone just normal stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really start doing it with like everything until the movie The Witch came out. It's the one that's spelled with like two V's. It looks like The Vitch.
Hmm.
It was released in like 2015, I think.
I
Um,
think I've seen it. I don't remember. I feel like I remember being kind of disappointed because I had heard so much about it. Like it's so disturbing and so messed up, and then I watched it. Like this is kind of tame.
yeah, I think it's a great film, but on first watch, I was expecting something completely different, so I was let down a little bit too on
Mm.
my very first like gut reaction. I was like, I was wanting something more hardcore, but subsequent viewings, I understand what it is now, and I enjoyed it. Like my
Mm.
second watch was like way more enjoyable because I knew what I was getting into. But like, yeah, all the hype and like the
Okay.
trailer even like made me think a different way. But yeah, that one's like it's like that puritanical like pilgrim like
Hmm.
super early American English. So it's still like it's almost like and they're like really religious too. So there's a lot of like deaths and that kind of shit. But yeah,
Mm.
that one's like it's like pretty much necessary, like mandatory that you have to have that on to be able to even follow the story because everyone's like so historically accurate in how like fuck like that crazy pig Latin. Um, Shut up with that filthy pig Latin. uh, yeah, I
Yeah,
am
I mean
for
that makes
sure a
sense. That's kind of
subtitle
how
guy.
I like when I didn't really like the Hateful Eight the first time I watched it, and we may have talked about this before, but then the second time, knowing what I was getting in for, I was able to enjoy it for what it was instead of what I was expecting, and then being a little disappointed. But
Yeah, maybe I should give it another shake because I really hated it, and I only watched it the one time, and I was like, fuck that movie. But
yeah, I was in. I remember I was in Phoenix, and I can't remember if I told any of this, but I was down there for counting cards, and I just got completely burned and had like a shit ton of time to kill. I had like 3 or 4 days where I just could do nothing. Like I couldn't play anywhere, and so I was just in time killing mode,
mhm.
hardcore. And so I was like, well, here's a long ass movie that'll take up a huge chunk of time, and yeah, so I enjoyed it second time around.
Yeah, I think subtitles, I have to have them on now for everything for fear of missing something. So I just put them on all the fucking time. Um,
Did you end up finishing the Black Phone?
yes, I did. It actually just came out on streaming to rent, and
Oh, okay.
so yeah, so I rewatched it from beginning to end with the wife, and we really liked it. I thought it was great.
I liked it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was dope. I guess if I wanted to be really hardcore on it, I wish it would have had a little bit of an extra something, but um, I liked it. Yeah, it was great. I think the biggest thing was the kid actors, the brother and sister
Yeah.
were
Dude, the
fucking
sister I
awesome.
thought
Yeah,
did like such a much better job than the brother did, in my opinion. I don't know. I was just really impressed with her the entire time.
yeah, yeah. She was great. I put them neck and neck. I think the spoiler alert because I know this is a pretty new movie, but earmuffs for the Black Phone. The the fucking scene when he takes the dude out at the end when he traps him, gets the ankle, and he fucking does that slide jump,
Oh,
fucking showing.
yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Just been revoked.
Um, I liked Ethan Hawke too. I'm a big Ethan Hawke fan in anything he's in, so I thought he did a good job. He played a fucking weirdo. Um,
Yeah, he did a really good job.
I think the one thing I didn't like is I don't like that Upham actor.
Sure.
dad.
I mean, how could you?
Something about him. And he's played that kind of weird, like broken human being, like with the trembly voice in a few other things. Like he played a fucking weirdo like that in an episode of Hannibal and he was in Lost for a little while.
I thought he was okay in the movie, but yeah, he does have that like just really weaselly.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Twister, which is one of my favorite movies. Like, God, you're just such a little shit.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got that market cornered for sure. The other thing was like the brother living in the same house. I was like, that was probably,
Yeah.
I wouldn't like expose it like this ruined it for me, but I thought that was the weakest part of the whole thing.
I would agree. It was a little too cutesy of a bait and switch kind of thing.
I will say there was one really good fucking jump scare. I think maybe the middle, somewhere between like the first third and the middle, where he gets that first or second phone call, and it's just showing you the front of him like this, and then it like turns, and the fucking ghosty who's on the other end of the line is like right there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say the one where the kid is like laying upside down.
That was freaky as shit too, but I was already like on Spidey sense mode at that point because it's the one that directly precedes that one. So it's like the first ghost that the audience sees.
Okay. There was a gal.
I was like, Jesus Christ! Like,
there was a gal in front of me in the theater. And there was like 3 times just during the previews, she did like an involuntary like jump. She would jump and then like cover her face because she just felt like so embarrassed. Like, oh my God, I just jumped. My ass came fully disconnected from this chair, and we haven't even started the movie. And it was so funny to watch because then you could tell she was like, get it together. Don't be freaked out. And then, there was like 4 or 5 parts in the movie where she would just react and then be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I have no shame. It'd be interesting to be like, to have a bird's eye view of, I did that one time when I saw The Conjuring back in like 2013 or 2012 when it came out in theater, and my ass there was one scene in particular where my ass was completely disconnected from my seat. And I feel like I jumped up like 3 feet in the air. Like, I remember specifically my feet went above my head.
Yeah.
Like my knee went above my head. Like it like involuntarily, like something like picked me up and like pushed me forward. Like it freaked me out. Like whole chest grabbing. Oh shit. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I love that shit though, because it like gets your adrenaline going. It's like you're going on a roller coaster.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done sparingly, I think. I feel like it's kind of a cheap crutch to be leaned on.
Right.
But if it's just kind of done sporadically, I'm fine with it. But if they're doing it a lot, then it's like, come on.
Yeah, and there's for sure, I mean, anything that's popular, like it's going to get milked by an entire movie, or it'll be overused in a movie. But yeah, I've seen it like done where it's like, okay, this is the pitch for the movie. Jump scares. Yeah, you lay it in strategically, like meticulously, in like perfect opportune spots, then yeah, totally. I feel like we haven't even really talked about this movie yet. So you want to breeze through just like what this one's about real quick?
Sure. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think it's necessary.
With our little tangents. I mean, it's a pretty simple storyline, you know. Nondescript man wanders into a town that has been taken over by 2 rival gangs. One specializes in booze, the other in arms, and he basically just finds a way to milk both sides, playing both against each other. And I don't know if I missed it or if it comes up in the next movie, but I feel like when it ended, I was expecting him to find that big stash, or to take that big stash of gold, you know, like he found it at one point, but I was hoping it would show him going and going and getting it.
Yeah, I think it was trying to show like, maybe he's changed her a little bit, like by having gone through that, and like his main motivator or driver isn't just the money, to
Hmm.
try to like, maybe like elevate him to like a more respectable character. But yeah, I mean, that was his whole drive the entire movie up until that point. But I mean, there's a tonal change too when he sees like the significance, when he realizes who that little kid is in relation to the woman that's been absconded and like held against her will. Then it's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, like he, like this is me caring about shit and not this gruff like I'm out to just fuck over whoever, and I'll just play both sides and walk away with the money. Um,
I'm excited to see the next one. Like, is there any story continuation from this one, or is it also him
Zero.
just kind of wandering and just finding another town with people who need to get fucking killed?
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to answer your question
Okay.
previously. Yeah, it's completely zero. And honestly, I didn't even know that this is supposed to be a trilogy until like
Hmm.
years and years after I saw the third one. It's like people are like, "Oh yeah, the Man with No Name trilogy." And honestly, I can't even see it. The only thing to me that connects them is that they were all directed by the same director and they star Clint Eastwood. There's literally
Interesting.
no other. I think in I'm pretty sure you don't even know his real name in all three. In each movie he gets called a different like nickname thing. Like in the first one they call him like Gringo, the Americano, the Yankee. The Undertaker calls him Joe like twice. I can't remember
Hmm.
what he goes by in two. Is it Manco? I think one dude starts calling him like Manco, and in the third one, the third one's kind of funny. It's kind of like Lethal Weapon 3, where he gets like connected by the at the hip with like a comedic guy, like a little Joe Pesci, but not
Oh,
quite.
nice.
And it's just him. So it's Clint Eastwood and this other dude, and he calls him Blondie the whole movie.
Huh.
So you really don't know who the fuck he is. You don't get any backstory at all. I think there's like a glimmer, like he intimates that maybe he had a family or he had a wife that was like gunned down or something, and then he was just like, okay, I'm numb. I'm just gonna fucking be like a outlaw, kind of, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
help out when it like something pulls at my heartstrings. But um, yeah, you
Yeah. I
can
mean,
go in, you
if
can
they're
watch
any
them in any order. There's no connection whatsoever.
if they're anything like this one, it's. I mean, I don't mean it as a put down, but it's not like there's a ton of depth of story, but
No,
it's certainly
I,
very enjoyable to watch. That's for sure.
yeah, I would say the third one probably has the most uh, story development. I think the third one's probably the like because they had been doing them for quite a while, and by that time, like when Clint Eastwood made this first movie, he wasn't like a name, like this is kind
Mm.
of what propelled him as a Western star, and because yeah, this was '64. Before this, he was like a side character on Rawhide in the States. Uh, I think he started doing that in like '59 or 1960. Then he did this while he was on a break from doing some other shit that he was on a contract for. And then by the time he had made the second one of this and then the third, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, he went and did like 4 or 5 other spaghetti westerns, like High Plains Drifters one. There's another one that's really renowned that I can't think of right now, like Pale something or anyway, I like High Plains Drifter a lot. I think actually, when I think about it more, High Plains Drifter is like a better version of Fistful of Dollars. But
Mm.
by the time, yeah, that they had made the third and final of this trilogy, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, like it's way more polished. Like the dubbing is a lot tighter. It's still filmed with a lot of Italian crew. Like the production value is cleaner, smoother. Like it's just better. Um,
Yeah, and it's so weird to me. I feel like we've talked about this before, where this movie's 60 years old. So imagine at the time it was being made, thinking about something made in like 1900. Like it
yeah,
just
that's nuts.
it's just weird to think about like that.
Yeah, you think of like old like Chaplin films that almost look like they're like stop motion, almost like whatever technology they fucking had. Like a flip book, like a camera just taking a billion pictures in a row and then getting some kind of mechanical contraption to like flip it like a flip book, like with your thumb, and you see like moving pictures, but motion pictures. Um,
Oh, that's why they call it that. I never
uh,
thought about it.
that is kind of trippy to think about, though. Like we're as far apart from that as it was to the 1900s when they made it. It's like, fuck, that's weird.
The talkies.
Yeah. I have one interest that I had no clue about this fact, but I guess so. This movie, Fistful of Dollars, is like a shot-for-shot remake of a Japanese film by the like renowned Japanese screenwriter and director Akira Kurosawa, um, called Yojimbo, that he made in 1961, which was itself based on a unadapted 1929 novel called Red Harvest. Um, so it was so like blatant and like at the time when this came out in 1964, 1965, uh, it was so blatantly a shot-for-shot remake and complete ripoff of Yojimbo that the movie's U.S. release was delayed when the screenwriters Akira Kurosawa and Ryuzo Kikishima sued the filmmakers of Fistful of Dollars for a breach of copyright. They won, and as a result, 15% of this movie, Fistful of Dollars, worldwide gross and exclusive distribution rights for Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea went to Kurosawa and his screenwriter partner. Um, and then
It's pretty crazy that it's only 15%, right? It's if it's a total blatant ripoff as determined by whatever the court system, it's like, no, motherfucker, we're taking, if not all of it, like half. Like, let's split it.
I think the main difference maybe they got over on was that this was like set and dressed as like a western, and Yojimbo was like a samurai, like a Japanese film.
And
So even though,
they didn't even wait that long, just a couple years,
yeah, like
you
three
know.
years. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And it's funny too. He said Kurosawa said when they released the film in Japan, he made it a point to retitle this movie "The Return of Yojimbo" as like a slap in the face to the people who made this one, Sergio Leone. And then he went on. He was interviewed later in life, and he said he made more money off of Fistful of Dollars from that 15% than he did make with Yojimbo. So,
You
he,
know, it's funny. I was just thinking because you hear that sometimes with Led Zeppelin sues somebody or gets sued because they have a song intro that sounds like something else.
right.
And sometimes I feel like the times I've heard it's like a financial settlement, like a dollar amount.
Hmm.
But it would be smart in this case if you think it's going to be popular to get like a back end deal. Like, how about we just take a percentage and then when this thing blows up, we just keep getting money. Like I was reading, all roads seem to lead to Top Gun, but I guess Tom Cruise negotiated like a lot of back end money on his deal, and it's just
For the newest one that just came out.
uh-huh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it's smart.
It's crazy that like the movie studios and all them haven't like figured it out yet. I guess it is a gamble on Tom Cruise's part because I mean, people could have came out against it because he's a Scientologist, or the movie could have just like really sucked ass, and it could have gone the studio's way by like having maybe to pay him less than he would have made if they would have offered him like a flat fee, like or a
Hmm.
contract for starring in it. But I mean, so it
Imagine
still
if you
is a
have like this
risk.
back end deal going, and COVID hits, and they're like, we're not going to do a theatrical release. We're just going to release it to, Vudu and Roku TV.
Right.
Like there goes all your. And I think that wasn't that why Scarlett Johansson sued
ScarJo.
Disney because
Yep.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah, because she was butthurt about Black Widow.
her shitty
And
acting.
what's that?
She was butthurt about her shitty acting.
Yeah, she's not a good actress. Yeah, she was super butthurt about that whole Disney Plus and the streaming. I think there's been a couple other people that got a little salty about that. That's like Brave New World shit. Like that hadn't really gone on before. But yeah, I'm just surprised that people haven't got wise to it because I think Robert Downey Jr. did that with Iron Man.
Hmm.
After the first Iron Man, like he must have had a fortune teller in his back pocket or something because I mean, even then, it took a few years for that whole MCU thing to like really start building steam. But after he filmed the first Iron Man, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Maybe he even did it before, but he orchestrated all of his shit to be back in, and he ended up like, you know, breaking the fucking house by doing that. Like, makes me wonder like if they forced him out of the franchise because they were like just bleeding so much from him.
It's
Because if he's
possible.
like
I mean,
he's a super popular character. Like, why would you kill him off unless he wanted to be done with it? And I mean, by all accounts, like I can't see him wanting to walk away from that, like unless he had to.
sure.
But either way, yeah, I thought that was interesting about this, like that that it was a complete almost rip off from that, and that they ended up that dude ended up making more money on his settlement from the original film.
It is a pretty bold strategy to completely rip off something that's only 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, I wonder what the thought process was, but
Who knows? Maybe back in the 60s, it was like, no one's going to hear about this in Japan.
yeah, I could totally see that like being like part of that thought process, like and too back in those days, I don't think things were as so heightened on like litigation and like
Right.
watching out for all that shit and like looking at it as something that you could potentially capitalize on or like gotcha, like it was more like Wild West. Um,
Yeah, that is curious. Maybe we could do an episode about the history of intellectual property and copyright law. That sounds fascinating.
One of the ones that I think we touched on previously that is really interesting to me, is that whole that funky accounting that goes on, like when it comes to like reporting what you spent on like marketing and
Oh,
like all that other
sure.
shit versus like the actual production of a movie, and like if something does badly or poorly, or even if it doesn't, if they're just being a super greedy fucks, there's that weird. I need to look into it more, and I don't want to spiral on this, but that one to me is actually interesting, like that Hollywood accounting that they're able to do, um,
Hmm.
to kind of tip the scales their way, but whatever that fucking loophole is, I can't remember what it's called, but or the exact mechanisms, but yeah, that one's pretty interesting.
Yeah, sounds super shady.
Yeah, like yeah, totally. Um, yeah, I don't think there's much more to say really about this flick. I mean, it's like yeah, well, like you were saying, there's a couple gangs, he plays both sides, and he's like this guy in the middle, just like waiting for them to both fuck each other over and step in and walk away with the cash. And that's pretty much what happens until the very end. He sees this woman, Marisol, and who's been estranged or pulled away from her husband and son, and like that's like hits Eastwood and the heart balls, and then so he's like, all right, I'm gonna do the right thing and like get them to safety and like bring their family back together. I think that's where the best stuff happens, like when he takes those two fuckers out with that that like laughably large bear, like wine barrel or beer barrel.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that?
And it's funny, that injury, I feel like yielded the most amount of blood. Like, what?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't even blood or liquor or something, but I was like, oh, this crushing injury produced a bunch of blood, but you shoot a guy 50 times with a machine gun, he just
Yeah.
falls over.
Um, yeah, that part was pretty rad. And when he like makes the fucking plate metal bulletproof vest thing, like,
Uh-huh.
and drops it at the end. That's pretty iconic. I actually knew that before I even knew what this was, because that's a scene in Back to the Future 2, when Michael J. Fox goes up to confront Biff in like the warped future of like Las Vegas Hill Valley, where Biff's in charge with everything, and then he sees that scene like playing on the TV, and he drops the fucking plate metal, and then like it zooms in on their eyes. It's like I was like, oh shit, that's what that's from.
I don't think I've seen the second Back to the Future.
It's really not that great. And the third one, I only like bits and pieces of. It's like, yeah. I remember being a kid thinking the second one was cool because it was futuristic and it had those auto lace fucking Nikes that you put on and like the
Oh,
hoverboard and
yeah,
all
maybe
that
I have
shit.
seen that one then.
You had to have seen that movie
Yeah,
growing
I
up
must
at
have.
least once, but
I have
yeah,
no recollection of it at all.
the first one's where it's at for sure. Oldies but goldies. Yeah, so that's this movie. It's yeah, honestly, like to go back when we introed, I remember watching it, and I've only seen this one maybe a handful of times in my whole life, but I remember the very first time I saw it, I really liked it a lot, and it was kind of a turning. I think this was the turning point movie too for like westerns, because I always thought they were like boring and like, you'd see it, you go to an old person's house and they have them on like reruns and crap, and to me this one kind of like broke that mold. Like I was like, oh, this is actually cool, But
Right.
this watch that I watched in anticipation of this recording, I was like, ugh, I just like fell down and like I went to sleep. Like I wasn't even trying to.
Like my grandpa.
Yeah, totally. Like I passed out so I had to watch this like 3 times to like get it and like have a background, and we didn't even end up talking about point by point about the movie like I thought we were, but I was like, I didn't want to miss anything when we were talking about it. Be like, I saw it like 10 years ago. I can't remember, but yeah, I completely passed out for an hour and 15 minutes and had to like just try again. So yeah, it just felt really slow to me this go around, but there are some neat little parts that I like about it.
Yeah, there's like, I thought, a really clever little ruse when he takes the 2 dead bodies
Yeah,
and tells the
dope.
one clan that 2 of them survived, and then tells the other clan about it. And it's like, you guys just go here and all kill each other.
Yeah, for like you think of like Clint Eastwood and he's this gruff, like, Western, he's shooting people out. He's very sneaky in this fucking movie. He's like pretty clandestine and like going
Very
to
conniving.
each other's houses and like giving that, like whispering in their ear, and that'll be $500, thanks.
Well, when he knocks that chick out, and then takes her over to the Baxters, and then they end up trading her for one of their clan that got kidnapped by the other one, and then they're doing the exchange, and she looks over and sees him. I'm surprised she wasn't like, hey, that's the guy who knocked me the fuck out last night. I mean, maybe she forgot because she was out cold, but if I was him, I would definitely be like inside covering my face, like, oh god, she's gonna see me, and be like, that's the guy right there, because that would totally blow up his whole thing.
Yeah, I was super perplexed by that because like I'm super fresh off of watching this, and like I was like really paying attention. I'm like, yeah, why isn't she saying anything? I was like, maybe in like, it was dark out, but I feel like in that scene they both recognize each other, and he punches her anyway, because it was like a good 1 or 2 seconds before he does that, about 0 seconds that he does that, and yeah, I was waiting for that, and I was like, dude, he's being pretty ballsy. He's like sitting out, he's like posted up with like a bottle of liquor, and he's like enjoying the show. I'm like, go back into the saloon and like peer through the fucking window, guy.
Yeah.
I did like that his little companion, like the bar owner. I can't remember what his name is, but that was kind of funny, that odd couple of those two. And I thought it was super funny, like when he crashes at his house at the saloon upstairs, and he's got the covers all the way up to his neck, like, and he's like just laying there. I was like, that's weird. Like you think of him as like being this big gruff, gunslinger, and he's sitting there and he's like asking him questions and shit, and he's got the covers all the way up to his fucking neck, and he's like wrapped like a mummy. I'm like, It was just a funny juxtaposition to me that I got a little chuckle out of. But
Yeah, the actor who played Ramon, I thought that guy did an awesome job. He was
yeah,
very believable as like a weird sociopath.
yeah, he's awesome. He's a good villain. And you know what? Before I put my foot in my mouth, I think they brought him back for The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and he played the main villain also, but they called him. He was a completely different name. I don't know if that's true.
Well, yeah,
Let
because
me
he
double check.
died.
When did he say he died?
No, I mean in the movie
No. Yeah,
he
but
died.
they just brought back the actor. Well, yeah, and he was killed. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the second one, or maybe not at all. But I could have sworn, or maybe I'm just confusing with this dude because he looks similar. But yeah, that was the weird thing. Like when you watch the subsequent movies after knowing that it's supposed to be a trilogy, I remember watching through the second and the third one. I'm like, there is fucking negative zero connective tissue to any of this shit, and I like
Yeah,
sat like really like concentrating and watching like how does this all interplay, and it just fucking doesn't.
I
Um,
mean even James Bond movies, it's not like they follow one particular storyline throughout, but there usually is carryover for different chunks, I guess, right? Or no?
yeah, that's one that's always fucking like baffled me a little bit. And my grandpa was a huge fucking James Bond guy, and I remember like asking him a couple different times throughout my life, like, but if he's James Bond, who's this other guy? He doesn't even look like him. And it was always like, it's the title, it's James Bond is just the name. It's like the cover that you assume. It's not the actual man. So it's like these five James Bonds are completely distinct and separate dudes. They're just all happen to be the cream of the crop fucking spies that take up the mantle of James Bond. But I've seen shit that contradicts that, and I think too, like for a series it's been like 50 years and they made 40, 30 or 40 fucking movies. They've different directors have their different idea, so they try to uh, like change the canon, I guess. Because I feel like with the most recent ones, with the Daniel Craig shit, they tried to make it like it was him, like it's just him, and then it's 007 that is the mantle that you take on, and it's not the
Right.
James Bond. So it's confusing to
I
me.
guess I guess I was more referring to like I know there are chunks of Bond movies where there's like a continuous storyline throughout, but then I've kind of just watched different ones at random, and I'm sure there are times where one comes out and then the next one has like nothing to do storyline wise with the previous one, but I don't know. I could just be talking out of my ass.
Well, I think the other thing that makes it even more confusing is that the new James Bonds with Daniel Craig, those aren't like a continuation like on a spectrum of time of James Bond. They're actually, I think, supposed to be reboots of old James Bond, but with different villains and completely new storylines. But
Interesting.
they have some key connective like figures, like the James Bond, the Q, the quartermaster, uh, M, is like James Bond's boss. Like they
Mm.
did things to like reboot it. So then it even gets even more fucking mental gymnastics that you have to do to try to like understand where it's at in the context of the. Any hoozles. Okay, yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it for a fistful of dollars. I guess I'll sum up that it's a dope western, and I think
Yeah.
it broke out Clint Eastwood. It's a good flick. I don't think it's earth shattering or anything like that, but um, if you were on the fence about westerns and like wanted to dip your toe into that water, this is a really good entry point. Or High Plains Drifter, I would say too.
So one thing real quick that I was thinking about during this movie, which is completely unrelated to the movie, but it's kind of related to you, is with all the like crazy accurate shooting stuff that they're talking about, and Clint Eastwood takes them down, like 4 of them with 4 shots, and what's his name is shooting the like heart into the target or whatever. Not to bring it down and be a bummer if anybody's even still listening, but that mall shooting that was in Indiana, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Oh yeah.
So the first story I heard was this guy goes into a mall bathroom in Indiana, and he's in there for like an hour, probably assembling his gun that he brought in pieces. Comes out of the bathroom, starts shooting, and a random person who had like a carry permit there takes him down. Which, I mean, those are always fun to hear. Like, wow, crisis averted. This guy just happened to have a gun and kill this guy before he killed a shit ton of people. Like, wow, that's interesting. And then little bits of information came out, like he took him down from 40 yards away with a handgun, which I don't know if you've ever gone like target shooting, but 40 yards for a handgun is like it may as well be a fucking mile. That is so long. And
yeah,
so
I think the one time I've gone shooting in my life, when I was shooting a handgun, I was shooting at targets like maybe, I don't know, definitely not 40 yards, maybe 10 or 15.
I bet I was gonna say, I bet you were like 10 yards away.
Out
so
in
I have
Oroville.
So
yeah,
I have
really
a
close.
concealed. So I have a concealed carry permit, and when you do the shooting test, the target's like 7 yards away, and from what I understand, most gunfights, like on the street, if you're going to get involved in a gunfight, it's like 6 feet away is usually, because it's usually like people fighting and then 2 people pull out guns, and it's like
so
you're both
yards.
basically at arm's length from each other. So
Right.
most gunfights with handguns are super, super close range. So it came out that it was 40 yards, and I was like, God damn, that's crazy good shooting. And then it came out that he had shot 10 times within 15 seconds. And so then I'm thinking, ooh, that's almost kind of dangerous depending on the circumstances. Like if this guy just fucking unloaded 10 rounds in a busy mall, like, yeah, it was a good outcome, but that could be potentially dangerous.
Like 6
then it
of
came
those
out
bullets
that
could have fucking hit someone else.
Right.
Innocent.
Yeah, and it's it would be good intentions, but it's like, okay, you hopefully he was being careful and the guy was like up against a wall or concrete or something. But then it came out that 8 of those 10 shots hit the guy from 40 fucking yards away.
Damn.
And which is unbelievable. And obviously nobody was hurt by the other 2. But I was reading this thing this guy is like a expert marksman shooting instructor, and he was like, that's fucking unreal that this guy was able to do that. He tried to recreate it, so he set up a target at 40 yards, and he's like, okay, I'm going to shoot it 10 times in, I think it was 15 seconds, but that might be wrong. And he's like, I was only able to hit 7 out of 10, and that's not in the middle of an active fucking shooting situation. He's like, this guy's accuracy is unreal. So I just kept thinking about that during the movie, and that's insane.
Yeah.
Who knows how many people he would have taken down if he hadn't been killed. It's crazy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I won't get into like the political ramifications or anything like that, but yeah, that's fucking crazy that he was able to hit that accurately, considering like, adrenaline and like, nerves that come into play in like a real world application, and people screaming, but maybe that's one of those things where it bounced the other way, and it just made this dude just like cool as shit, like ice water in his veins, and it went the other direction, and it just like put him in that weird zone. Like you hear like moms getting that fucking crazy adrenaline fucking spike to lift a car up to save their kid or something like that. But
I mean, he must have a shit ton of training, because if you ever watch like those body cam shows or cops or whatever, they always talk about, or they frequently talk about, when they get in these crazy stressful situations, it kind of just, it goes back, their training mode just kind of kicks in. So if you've trained really well, great. But if you haven't, you just kind of go into like Neanderthal panic brain.
Yeah.
I mean, I failed a fucking spelling test when I was 10 years old. You know, I would crumple under the pressure, but this guy goes into full John Wick mode and takes him down from downtown.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Yeah, 40 yards is a long long distance, because that's what, 3 feet in a yard. That's 120 feet away.
Yeah, so imagine if you're at home plate and your target is second base. That's a good distance away.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And you're shooting at something, you know, that's like a square foot is what you're aiming for. It's not the movies. You're not trying to shoot somebody in the arm or the leg.
Yeah.
You're just going to the center of mass.
Center of mass. Okay. Do you have
any
final thoughts about this film or anything else you want to speak to?
I'd highly recommend it if you listen to this and you hadn't seen it yet, which is weird. If you have seen it and you're listening to this, cool. I'm glad we could share this.
Yeah, let us know if you have a differing opinion, what you thought of the film, or any other question in general. You can reach out to us.
Yeah, send us some hate mail. Come on. Yeah,
bring it on. We'll read it. That's wax at waxingtheporpoise.com. You can reach out to us, or on our social media. Instagram is Waxing the Porpoise, and Twitter is at Waxing the Porp. I think we're just gonna freeball it for the next episode, because that's where I'm at. So it'll be a surprise what the next episode is. I'm not quite sure. We'll figure it out.
It's fun.
Yeah, I think we should get back to like we should get back to an unexplained, kind of tip the scales in the other direction. Oh yeah, one thing I was thinking about it in the car ride on the way back here to record. I was like, how did I let him get away with this when we were talking about the fucking card counting? I think it was part 2. Either way, we were talking about costumes and like your setups, and you had mentioned, and I don't know how I let you get away with this, but you mentioned you had a Slim Shady.
It's more of like a white rapper kind of thing.
Okay. So you don't bleach your hair blonde and wear a white tall
not
tee
yet.
And claim you're from Detroit?
No.
8 Mile!
No, not yet.
How often do you use that one?
I've really only employed it a couple times at a local casino that really does not want me to come back, and they've made that clear a couple times. And they can also be a little never with me, but I've heard stories about them being a little handsy with certain people that they don't want there.
Oh.
But the game that they have there, the game they have is incredibly valuable, and it's just hard to stay away. And it's also one of the closest ones to me, so I haven't been back there in a while now, but when I was trying to go back there, and it's funny because like during COVID, it was great with masks and everything, but certain places would make you pull your thing down at the entrance,
what kind of place is this?
Yeah, which is not always a great time, especially at a place. I don't think they have really good like facial recognition software, but the more valuable facial recognition is human beings. Like some people are just really, really good at recognizing people.
Right.
So I would always try to avoid that. But luckily this place has a hotel attached to it. So I could wander into the hotel, and I mean, somebody would be there to like check on you. Like, hey, what can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I'm meeting a friend of mine who's here. And then just walk into the casino. Like, wow, good job.
Yeah.
Great security you have here. It's like fucking Fort Knox.
So that kind of situation, you could go up like every 4 hours and just do a wardrobe change?
Yeah. I mean, for this particular place, I wouldn't play more than 60 or 90 minutes at a time, because I don't want them to run an evaluation on me and figure out what I'm doing, because it could get a little nasty. So I would just do more of like a hit and run style there.
Gotcha.
Versus just camping out, and like I'm not leaving until they kick me out. So
just pop in for a quick B&E.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I kept thinking about it. I was like, does he fucking bleach his hair? And, or does he have a wig? And do you start talking like hood, like slang? Like, do you pick up
No,
a
it's
vocal
it's like,
change?
so I have this it's like a bandana. So you know the like bandana plus baseball hat on top kind of
Yeah,
look.
yeah.
So plus I have this really ridiculous shirt, which you would probably remember actually because it was part of the how. So I get
Is
to
it the
give a
Joe
little,
C shirt?
yeah, and yeah. So a little bit of background for the listeners at home if they give a shit. One of our old coworkers dressed up as me for Halloween one year, all the way down to like my same shoes. He like sharpied my. I have a tattoo on my leg that he did a facsimile of, and
Like from the
anyway,
front of your shin, like from
yeah,
your ankle up to your knee.
yeah, and anyway, but yeah. So if you remember that costume, the shirt he was wearing, that's my. I mean, because it
Yes.
just looks like some generic memorial shirt, like R.I.P. this guy.
Yeah, like a vato, like a gangster. Like it's got
Yeah,
plenty of old English. It's
yeah,
overflowing with old English script.
and it fits in perfectly
Yeah,
in these casinos.
that's awesome. I always loved the back of it. It says "Down with the Devil."
It makes no sense at all. There's no, it makes absolutely no sense.
Cause I'm down with the devil.
Like I don't know if that means down, like defeating like down with the devil, or is
I
it like,
think it
oh no,
means like,
I'm
yeah,
down with the devil.
yeah. Like I think that's what it means. Is what he's going for. Like we're
Which is funny to
homies.
put on a memorial shirt because it's like, oh, you're in hell. You're saying
Yeah.
this guy that you love and miss is in hell.
Oh man. Yeah, that shirt's so awesome. Yeah, it was always that you knew you were in for it when it was like baseball cap, red, down with the devil, Joe C. Memorial shirt, army cargo shorts, and the
Yep,
black Adidas Sambas.
yep.
It
Don't
should have
hate.
just been your uniform, like your daily driver. All
Oh,
right.
you mean these?
God, do you just buy them like by the gross? Like you have a closet, you have 18 boxes of fucking black Sambas.
I don't actually. I've almost fully transitioned into angry, get off my lawn. I'm now I'm a New Balance guy now, so
Nice. They are
they're just
nice.
comfortable shoes.
Yeah, they are. Especially for the wide-footed
Yeah,
subset of our population. Um,
yeah,
yeah. I always thought that New Balances, I was like, those shoes look so stupid. And
yeah.
now I wear them too.
And then you put it on. I get it.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
Yep.
this was a fun one.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us. Reach out to us. Leave us a like, review, rating, smash that subscribe, whatever the fuck it is you want to do. And check us out next week. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Yours.